Hi, this is Hyperwave. I'm Leah Wald, streaming from our Barcelona studio, and today is going to be about precision, which actually I've not been experiencing too much here today in Barcelona, trying to get this apartment and everything, but for our Hyperwave 2 line, which we're going to discuss today and how things are changing, we are going to be discussing precision. So Tyler, what's up? And new phase 2 line is pretty big news.
Yeah, for those of you that were listening to us back when we were trying to defend the phase 3 line back in February and again in March and April, I used the term, it's time to sharpen our pencils. As we get closer and closer to a phase line, particularly one that is this important, because it's basically saying maybe we stop somewhere in the mid 5,000s on this downturn, or maybe we go all the way down to 1,000. So we've got to be very precise on hyperwave phase lines. I've asked our wonderful contributors to the hyperwave research group to help me this morning by taking a look at various dates back in 2017 and various exchanges to make sure we are drawing the phase 2 hyperwave line as precisely as possible. And I've come to the conclusion that I have been overestimating how high it stands right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some revisions to that this morning so that everybody can follow along with us. And also I'll give you the dates of the starting points that we're using and also which exchanges we're using. But then I also wanted to talk about something else. When Leah and I were broadcasting from our Madrid studios yesterday, we were getting a little bit nervous that things were turning down fairly quickly. And it's interesting to have Tone in Paris, 6 hours away from me. And he's doing his tweets early in the morning, and then 6 or 7 hours later, we are following up with what we're seeing in the marketplace. And again, we're seeing some very interesting action that I will do a screen share with. We're going to get off of here in probably about 15 minutes at the most, but I just wanted to give everybody a perspective of what we're thinking of at this point. And before I do that, I just want to praise my colleague and partner, Leah. Max Kaiser has just posted an interview with Leah in terms of macroeconomic institutions. And as most of you know, Max is a brilliant guy and has very, very opinionated views of many political, economic subjects, including crypto. And that's a difficult climate to be in, but I know you will agree with me when you watch it. And we will post the link to it, but you'll find it on YouTube just under Max Kaiser's. I think it's called RT, Leah?
Yeah, it's under RT, Russian TV, but Kaiser Report, yeah.
Yeah, the Kaiser Report. Thanks, so anyway, just a shout out to Leah. She did a brilliant job, and I think you'll all enjoy that and learn a lot about the depth of her understanding of these topics. Okay, with that, what I want to do is I want to quickly go to screen share and tell you what we are thinking about in terms of Hyperwave, Phase 2, and Bitcoin. And what you are looking at now is the Hyperwave with the Phase 2 line drawn in. Now, I believe that the starting point of this line was on March the 26th, which is a Sunday, where we closed above the Hyperwave phase 1 line. And the second point on this chart is the July 9th bottom. And I'll just quickly show you about where those are. The first one is on March 26th, which is over here. And the next point is right here on July the 9th. So if you're trying to draw this yourself on TradingView or any other platform where you can plot weekly charts, remember, you've got to be looking at weekly. I've come to the conclusion that this week, the one we are in right now with this red candle, and I'm going to talk about that candle in just a moment because something very fascinating is happening there, sits at approximately $5,330. And next week will go up to approximately $5,395. Now, when I say next week, what I mean is after Sunday. So we've only got 3 more days before this bar closes out, and then we will start a new bar, and the line will be up just short of 5,400. I had been using 5,500 plus in my estimates, and but as we get closer and closer to it, we need to be more and more precise because it is such an important line. And so that is the variation I'm making. I will tweet that out later for those that aren't able to listen to this particular vlog. So it's not quite going up at $80 per week. It's closer to about $77 per week. And all of those little differences over time will make a difference, in my opinion, because I think we're on our way to testing that line at some point here in the fairly near future. Maybe we can muster up enough for one more bounce, but and that bounce is very probably not going to go too much higher. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about, is just the phase 2 line. The next thing I wanted to talk about is this very unusual candle that we are looking at right now. This is a weekly candle, which started, of course, on Sunday at 8:01 approximately last Sunday, and won't conclude until this Sunday coming up. But as it stands right now, we have a thing called an engulfing candle, a bearish engulfing candle. And what it basically means is the top of this candle is above the top of the previous candle, and the bottom is above or below the bottom of the candle before it. It's an awfully close call, but not really. If you take a look at the closing price on this candle, it's $72.90, and the opening on this one is $72.91. It's true there's a wick that's higher, but in any case, it does qualify. Now, that's one interesting point. The second interesting point is this candle is also engulfing this candle, which is 2 weeks back. Now, a bearish engulfing candle statistically predicts approximately 80% correctly that the future candles coming are going to be lower. In other words, that this is the end of this uptrend. And now with this engulfing candle, we have begun a downtrend. The fact that it's engulfing the last two, I think, is just an exclamation point. But I think it's something to keep in mind that I had not noticed when we were talking yesterday. And I haven't heard other people talking about it. I'm sure others have talked about it. But for me, that's a very important observation. Now, you can change that by Sunday by having a rally up to the bottom of this candle. In other words, the opening of this green candle, which was 6,700. So if we were to climb another 300 points from here this week and close on Sunday, it would no longer be an engulfing candle. It just, at this point, is, and by a fairly large margin. But it's too early to make predictions. We're going to take every day as they come, every week as they come. There's nothing new in our analysis from yesterday other than it's worse now than it was when we did our review yesterday. And I'm not going to spend a lot more time on it other than to say we now have this series of lower highs, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This activity that we've seen, if I bring it down to a 4-hour chart, is pretty conclusive that this 7411 was the top of that bounce that we were just looking at going back to the weekly. This 3-week bounce that we had, all the shorter time frames are very conclusive that that was the peak of that particular bounce. Now, Tone said this morning, and I have said yesterday, and I will say again today, that on this weekly chart, there is formidable support. I called it resistance yesterday because it's resistance to the prices above it coming down. It's support every time you come down to those levels between 5,800 and 6,200. And we touched 62.53 in this candle. So got awfully darn close to the top of that range I just gave you, 5,800 to 6,200 already. Already we've gone down to that that level or very close to it, and we've still got a couple of days to go. Now, Tone mentioned he would not be surprised for one more try, and we'll go to a shorter time frame to get a sense of it. One more bounce off of this 6250, or let's call it a 6200 down to the 5800 zone. One more bounce, maybe up as high as 7,000. But again, very probably not being able to take out these peaks before we roll over. A lot of people that I follow and have a lot of respect for don't think that this is going to be able to muster that sort of strength one more time, that we are going to take out the zone between 5,800 and 6,200. And I will use the term imminently, but that's their words, not mine this time. I think we could hang in here a little while, only because this has been so dramatic a drop, and it came right down to the top of that support zone. But all of these reasons that I'm talking about now are why we wanted to be very precise in terms of our hyperwave analysis. For those of you who are beginning to embrace the idea that there is a thing called a hyperwave, that it has very broad application, and more specifically to those things that we all believe in and love, Bitcoin. We're getting very close to some very important things happening relative to hyperwave. Now, putting hyperwave aside just for a second, we're getting very close to a lot of things happening for technical analysts having to do with Bitcoin prices, because we're back down to that zone between 5,800 and 6,200 in which it must hold, or all practitioners of every stripe of technical analysis, and many fundamentalists also, are going to conclude if we break through that 5,800 bottom and go down to what now is a 5,330 phase 2 line and a 4,975 tone line and a 4,800 Fibonacci line, those lines are either going to hold or they are not. It's binary. You know, we've cut out all the nonsense. We've cut out all of the possibilities, all of the options. We're right down once again to the very important future of Bitcoin. And we will take it with you day by day. And I'm so happy that my partner is finding all these great spots and is about ready to go on a wonderful cruise in which she will moderate some fantastic panels. But we will find time to keep these coming so that you can follow us day by day as we get closer and closer to these critical decisions. So with all of that, thank you very much, and I'll turn it back to Leah.
Thanks, Ty. And yeah, hopefully actually we'll get to you guys every day. So yes, from the Barcelona studio, signing off of Hyperwave, Leah Wald for the day. And everybody have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.